institutions and policy.
Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. An overnight drone attack by Ukraine temporarily cut power and heating in Voronezh, southwestern Russia. Regional Governor Alexander Gusev has confirmed no civilian casualties or injuries. Authorities are assessing the damage and restoring essential services to affected areas in the city. While Russia has warned that the European Union against provoking retaliatory measures over its new ban on multiple visa entries for Russian citizens, spokeswoman Maria Zakharova says Moscow will respond based on national interests, including mirror or asymmetrical actions if necessary. The Israeli military confirms that it shot dead a Palestinian man during a raid in the Al-Farah refugee camp in the northern West Bank. The IDF said the suspect planned to harm soldiers, yet no troops were injured in the operation. Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara has arrived in the United States, according to reports. He is set to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. Both leaders are set to discuss Syria being part of the international coalition against ISIS. U.S. airlines have cancelled 1,460 flights on day 2 of government-mandated reductions due to air traffic controller shortages amid the federal shutdown. Delays hit major cities, while Italy reports unpaid staffs at U.S. military bases seeking a resolution with Washington. China has suspended its ban on exports of gallium, germanium, antimony, and superhard materials to the U.S. effective until November 27, 2026. According to the Commerce Ministry, the move temporarily lifts restrictions imposed in December 2024 on these critical dual-use materials vital to high-tech and defense industries. In Malaysia, at least 1 woman drowned and 10 people were rescued after a boat carrying around 90 undocumented migrants sank near the Malaysian-Thai border. According to Kedah police chief, the boat was carrying 90 people is believed to have capsized. The Philippines has now evacuated over 100,000 people as Super Typhoon Uwan, also known as Phang Vong, heads towards Luzon with torrential rains and destructive winds. Authorities have raised signal number 5 in Catanduanes and parts of Camarines as the storm threatens to make landfall in Orola province. Now we start with Russia and Ukraine. An overnight drone attack by Ukraine temporarily disrupted power and heating supplies in the southwestern Russian city of Voronezh, which is the administrative center of the wider Voronezh region. According to the regional governor Alexander Gusev, the attack caused no injuries to the civilians. Meanwhile, several drones were suppressed by electronic warfare systems, which sparked a fire at a utility facility that was quickly extinguished by the forces. Ukraine has stepped up long-range drone and missile strikes inside of Russia, hitting oil refineries, depots, and logistics hubs. It says freed the Kremlin's war machine. Now, for this discussion, we welcome Gilbert Doctorow. He's a Russian affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Thank you very much for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, what is your analysis on the current situation of Ukraine-Russia war and what could be potential political, also diplomatic repercussions if Ukraine and Russia both follow attacks on civilian infrastructure, even if no casualties are occurring?
The attacks yesterday or during the night in Russia by Ukraine seem to be 2 in number. One is the feature that you have brought out, is the Voronezh attack. and the other is an attack on Belgrade. Now, the attack on Voronezh is interesting in a couple of ways. One is location. This is 670 kilometers from the northeastern border of Ukraine, Russia. And if it indeed was a drone attack, as you report, then it is in line with the long-range drone program of Ukraine. However, I also saw a report in Russian news that it was a missile attack, which, if correct, would definitely require some attention, because it's not clear that Ukraine itself has any missiles, Soviet-era missiles, with that type of range. The other attack was clearly stated by Russian news to have been a missile attack, and that was within the capabilities of Soviet vintage missiles in the arsenal of Ukraine. It was in the city of Belgrade, which is maybe 50 or 60 kilometers from possible launching sites within Ukraine. It is a border city. It is an area that was invaded briefly by Ukraine a year ago, before they staged a very big incursion in the next neighboring Russian province of Kursk. In the case of Belgrade, the Russians report that serious damage was done to the heating and electricity infrastructure, and that 20,000 civilian homes or apartments were without power for some time. In the case of Voronezh, we don't know the extent of serious damage to infrastructure, but apparently it was a thermal generating plant, the kind of plant that heats homes, and it sustained some damage. Electricity was also shut down for reasons that these are interrelated infrastructure, but we don't have a full report.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Gilbert Doctorow, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you after taking this breaking news. There's a breaking news. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has stated that ending the conflict in Ukraine is impossible without addressing its root causes and taking Russian interest into account. Lavrov has emphasized the importance of maintaining regular contact with the United States to discuss the Ukrainian issue. He has also expressed Russia's readiness to hold in-person meetings with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Lavrov's comments come as the second meeting on Ukrainian war between U.S. President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Budapest was cancelled. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Gilbert Doctorow. He's a Russian affairs expert, joins us live from Brussels. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, looking at this, do you think there is a possibility that Russia is hinting on another summit or another plan for summit, as it says that it is open to talks? And when do you think, if this were to happen, could occur, or where?
Well, this news is interesting for a reason different from what you're suggesting. I'll come back to that in a second. But the reason why it's so interesting is that in the last few days, there were reports in Western media that Mr. Lavrov is in an open dispute with his boss, Vladimir Putin, and that his resignation or removal from office was something that was possibly underway. By his reappearance in public space to make the statement that you have quoted, we can be confident that Mr. Lavrov is firmly in his position as Russia's foreign minister. He was reiterating the positions that both Putin and others in the Russian government have been making for the last several weeks. That is to say that the present position of Trump and Zelensky is unacceptable. That Mr. Trump has gone back on his word given to the Russians during the Alaska meeting, when he said that the Americans saw the need to address the root causes. That has now been pulled back, withdrawn, and the Americans are now back in the position of calling for an immediate ceasefire, unconditional, which the Russians categorically refuse to accept. So, as I say, there are two elements to the story. One is about the personal position of Mr. Lavrov, which is clear now, and the second is about the restatement of Russia's primary position that a peace is possible and a truce is possible only if the basic issues, meaning NATO's advancement to the east, Ukrainian neutrality, are addressed
Right, that is so interesting as you mentioned. Can you briefly let us know if you know why was there a rift between, or reportedly a rift between the Foreign Minister Lavrov and his boss, or President Putin?
I emphasize that this reported rift was nowhere to be found in Russian media. It was found in Western media. And of course, there are a lot of people in Europe and the United States who would like to think that such a reputable and authoritative and widely respected foreign minister as Mr. Lavrov would have a dispute with his boss and could be a rift at the top. That is inconceivable from my perspective, because Mr. Lavrov in his whole career has been a loyal implementer of his boss. His boss when he was Putin, his boss when it was Mr. Medvedev who replaced Putin, and Mr. Putin again. So it's inconceivable to me that he would come out of policy positions in conflict with his boss.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Gilbert Doctorow for joining us and sharing that insight as a Russia affairs expert. Joined us live from Brussels. Thank you very much. Now we move on to US. US airlines have cancelled 1,460 flights on day 2 of the government-mandated flights cuts across the country. Thousands of flights have also been delayed, causing mounting travel woes as air traffic controller absences spiked amid the federal government shutdown. The Federal Aviation Administration reported major air traffic control staffing issues impacting 37 airport towers and other centers and delaying flights in at least 12 major U.S. cities. The FAA had instructed airlines to cut 4% of daily flights starting on November 7th at 40 major airports in U.S. because of air traffic control safety concerns. Reductions in flights are mandated to rise to 6% on November 11th and then hit 10% by November 14th. The shutdown, which has now reached a record 39 days, has led to shortages of air traffic controllers who have not been paid for weeks. Meanwhile, the Italian Foreign Ministry has said that local staff at some American military bases in Italy have not been paid due to the U.S. government shutdown. Italy has stated that about 2,000 non-military Italian employees, mainly at Aviano Air Base and the Vicenza Army Base in northeast Italy, missed their October pay despite being employed under Italian work contracts. The ministry has added that Rome is in talks with U.S. authorities to resolve this issue. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's a senior strategic and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us. Good to see you. Now looking at this, how is this prolonged U.S. government shutdown is now disrupting both domestic and even international obligations? How do you think it could influence the global confidence in U.S. economy and U.S. government's ability to maintain the strategic alliances and their responsibilities?
Very good question, Subha, because what is happening is that US would need to mend its own house, because if such a thing happens and they are not able to pay the staff of their NATO obligations, because US has got not only in Italy a large number of air bases in excess of around 150 all over the world. So it is going to impact the credibility of a superpower. And I think it's not that US does not have the money. It's a wealthy country. But a problem is that the federal budget of the US requires an annual approval by the Congress. And normally such a thing will not happen. But the system has been made in such a way that the Congress controls the purse, because it has to decide on various issues like taxes, defense spending levels, a social program like healthcare, education, welfare, climate and energy policy budget. So they are not able to decide on this as of now because there is a difference of opinion within the Congress. So I think a model like India has on a voter account, because it is extremely important that whatever the essential services are there, especially I'll give you example, if you don't have salaries for your armed forces, or if you don't have salaries for your government employees, then things will start impacting the security of the nation, and it will make people unsure of the government. So I think there has to be a certain mechanism. Though US has a system of debt ceiling politics, in the sense that there is a debt ceiling law in the US which limits how much money a government can actually borrow to pay the already approved expenses. But once that ceiling has been passed, I don't think government has got the power. So we are talking of a shutdown in the government. It's almost around 35 to 40 days now. So I don't think it should take so much of a time because this will have a collateral damage. It will also show the weakness of the government to push through these kind of expenditures. So the real answer is that certain modifications to this law has to be made if things don't come to a conclusion as far as the budget is actually concerned. So in my final analysis, I feel it is a governance problem. It's not a financial capacity problem. So in case it is a governance problem, and these shutdowns are now becoming quite frequent, so I think US must start introspecting on this sort of a system, and China and Russia are going to take advantage of this situation when your power centers which are outside, like the CENTCOM and other commands of the US, which are deployed either in the Middle East or the Indo-Pacific. I think these are essential expenditures and must be covered under any circumstances.
Yes, indeed. That's absolutely right. With that, I would like to thank Major General Dr. Kochhar for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for another discussion. Now we move on to China. China's Commerce Ministry has announced that it has suspended its ban on exports of certain dual-use items to the United States. The suspension affects materials including gallium, germanium, antimony, and super-hard materials, and will remain in effect until November 27, 2026. The ministry has also lifted stricter end-user and end-use checks on dual-use graphite exports to the U.S., which had been implemented alongside the original ban announced in December of 2024. This move follows China's suspension of other export controls on October 9th, including expanded restriction on certain rare earths, elements, and lithium battery materials. The decision comes after a prior agreement between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump to reduce tariffs and pause certain trade measures for a year, aiming to ease tensions between the world's two largest economies. Now for this discussion, we welcome Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us again. Good to see you. Andrew, now looking at this, what strategic objectives might China be pursuing by suspending export restrictions on these items to the U.S., and how does this fit into Xi Jinping's broader foreign policy agenda?
Only retention for 1 year, depending on how the Trump administration eases other sanctions or restrictions on China's access on semiconductors, other trade flows. Now, this deal presents South Korea States is going to live very happily. Tariffs are almost to 100% suspended.
Sorry, we might be facing some network issues over here with our guest Andrew KP Long. As we stay on this topic now, China's Commerce Ministry has announced that it has suspended its ban on exports of certain dual-use items to the United States. The suspension affects materials including gallium, germanium, antimony, and superhard materials and will remain in effect until November 27, 2026. Now we move on and we stay in Asia. The Malaysian police has stated that at least 1 woman have drowned and 10 people were rescued after a boat carrying around 90 undocumented migrants sank near the Malaysia and Thai border. According to Kedah Police Chief, a boat carrying 90 people is believed to have capsized, and 2 other boats carrying similar number of passengers have also been reported missing. The police chief added that rescue operations are underway to locate the survivors. The Maritime Authority has also stated that the incident is believed to have happened near Tarutao Island, just north of the popular Malaysian resort island of Langkawi. Meanwhile, the Maritime Authority director has said that 11 people, including 1 body, has been found so far. The Maritime Director has added that there is a possibility of more victims to be found at the sea. Now we move on to Pakistan and Afghanistan. In Pakistan, 3 people have lost their lives and another was injured after a hand grenade accidentally exploded inside a house in Bara Tehsil of Khyber District. The incident has occurred at the residence of Dawlat Mir in the Malakdinkil area when an occupant inadvertently pulled the grenade's pin. The victims Dawlat Mir, Harun, and Rahmatullah have all died instantly, while a 4th person, Habibullah, sustained injuries and was rushed to Dogra Hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, the police have registered the case and are investigating the circumstances of the explosion. Now for this discussion, we welcome back retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's a senior strategic and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dr. Major General, for staying with us. Now looking at this, how could this be possible that a grenade was in a local person's house in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and what measures should be implemented to safe handling of these kind of military grade explosive, especially among civilians in such conflict prone regions?
It's a very interesting question. You see, what is happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is that the state of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, including, I would also like to mention here Balochistan, because a similar kind of situation is happening in both these states, and these are border states with Afghanistan. A large number of people are revolting against the government here, including civilians. And Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is quite active here. After all, they are Pakistanis only, Pashtuns, who are fighting the Pakistan army and the Pakistan government. So what we are actually seeing is a state of insurgency within the state. And once you see this actually insurgency, you will see that people tend to keep firearms and explosives in their residences because many of them are part of this movement. So these are generally safe places where they would like to keep this ammunition and explosives, including weapons, and also for their own security. And therefore, we are the incident has happened. somebody has pulled the plug out of the grenade, the pin out of the grenade, and that is how the grenade actually blasted, resulting in lives of people. So I think a slightly more dispassionate view will have to be taken for the security situation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. There is a new chief minister who has been elected now. There is a political instability in the state. There is a lack of governance issues there. Pakistan government is not listening to its own people to solve their grievances. There is a dominance of Punjabis in this region. All contracts, because this area is very rich in minerals, and especially copper ore and gold deposits. So, and we've also seen rare earth minerals being talked about by their Field Marshal Munir. So, if that is the case, then this becomes a very lucrative area for mining activities. And most of the mining contracts are with the Punjabis and not with the locals. So there is an anger within the state amongst locals for discrimination, and also there is poverty here, a lack of infrastructure, medical facilities, good colleges are not there, jobs are not there, unemployment is very high. So these are the basic civic issues which give fire to a condition of insurgency in the state. And when you have insurgency, then you will find people keeping these arms and grenades in their residence to fight the government. So I think it's a larger issue. It is not a safety issue any longer, that how do you keep a grenade secure, but it is an issue which the Pakistan government needs to address, and it can only happen through communication, which I feel right now they are propagating a military solution. A military solution is not the answer to these problems. Any insurgency can only be contained when you have a dialogue and you address the grievances of the people. So I feel that is more important for the Pakistan government to address now.
Right, and thank you very much, Dr. Major General, for shedding light onto the history and also the insight of the geography of this particular location and its people. Now, building on your answer, what role should or could the military play in regulating possession, even though you said that this is not just a military problem now? And also, what role do you think the government should play in addressing the grievances that you've mentioned of the people over there?
It's a very good question. See, it's got a twofold answer. The first answer is resolving the issues with Afghanistan, because Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is getting its assistance from Afghanistan side. They have their safe houses there, the safe haven are there, and the ethnicity is the same. And there are many Afghan refugees who are staying here, whom I'm told now are being singled out and sent back to Afghanistan. So I think the first issue which the government would need to address to stabilize the security situation in the state is to talk to Afghanistan. Those talks are already happening, but I think that there hasn't been a success in these talks. The people have not been able to resolve their issues. I believe this ceasefire thing is also going to lapse now, and those talks which wanted a monitoring mechanism in place have not gone through. So I think that's a major setback, because unless you address the Afghan issue, you will not be able to create a conducive environment within the state of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Second important aspect is that since people have already taken to weapons, and the task and the task of stabilizing through talks is not happening, then the next step for any government is to curb it. And curbing will come through a military strength of the Pakistan army. So they will also now need to disarm these people, and for disarming your own population, you may have to use force at times. So I feel the next option, in case talks don't happen, the next option is the military option for any government to stabilize the situation. And for a long-term perspective, I think, because after you have been able to stabilize the situation and disarm the people, you should not consider this as your victory, because these are your own people who are fighting against you. So there is no sense of victory in vanquishing them. Subsequently or ultimately, I think you would need to ensure that corruption is not there in the government. The people who have been elected, or who are the leaders in the government, should reach to their electorate, their own population, address the problems, listen to them. You see, the self-interest has to take a back seat, and the national interest has to come forward. Only then I feel that the restoration of the situation can happen.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for giving this history once again, and geography, and insight into this people of here, over there, and a location. As always, thank you very much, Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar, for joining us and sharing that insight. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.